Hi, everyone. So good to see you. Welcome in. Come on in. We have a good show tonight. We are going to be talking about some of the things that have been going on around the YouTube streets regarding Mr. Chris. And we are going to talk. We have several lives planned coming up. So hit that subscribe. It's free and don't miss what's coming. Oh, Littlefoot. It has been 910 days since February 26, 2024. Since Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers was reported missing out of Hendersonville, Tennessee. Can you all hear me? Give me a 1 if you can hear me, please. Hi, Black Larry. Give me a 1 if you can hear me, please. I just want to make sure before I continue. Hi, Jay Zowie. Can you all hear me? Perfect. Thank you. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, Lori, Jerry, Black Larry, everyone, Barbara, who's coming in right now. Hello, Ms. Roxy. Many thanks for being here. So we're here to talk about Littlefoot, also known as Mr. Chris, also known as CP, Crispy. Lori, thank you for joining a new member to our family. Welcome in, Lori. Hi, His Eyes. Hello, everyone. Hi, Wanda. A lot has been going on. I've been out of town. I did have a family member who had a stroke. So we've all been kind of trying to help out there. I'm back. I have seen little bits and pieces of what's been going on out there and trying to watch it. So please hit that subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. And we are going to go ahead and get started with today's show about Littlefoot. 910 days ago, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, who lived in Hendersonville, Tennessee with his stepfather and his mother, was reported missing. 130 weeks ago, 2 years, 5 months, and 29 days. I am going to be sharing with you statements that have been made, facts that we know, and a little bit of mixed in with my speculation and disdain, my opinions. But have no fear. Mr. Littlefoot has walked around with his jokes and his mouth and his threats and his vileness coming out of his mouth, in my opinion, for far too long. He's played dress up like sheriff. He's threatened people. He gets upset when bulletin boards go up. And I want to say, why? Well, guess what? After 910 days, things are starting to pop, Mr. Chris. Are you getting scared? Do you feel the karma coming around to grab you? Well, guess what? Men who children do so because of severe psychological distortions. Boom. A desire for total control. Boom. Let's just think of the narrative in this case. Who tried to control it but claim he's not there? Allegedly, in my opinion. And a perception of children. They perceive children as defenseless targets, whereas they often avoid attacking other men due to the immediate risk of retaliation, physical retaliation. But a vulnerable child or a woman is still on their radar, in my opinion. We are here today because a young man is missing who lived with a stepfather and a mother, both of whom have not yet searched for him in 910 days, in my opinion. If you have seen them physically searching, please let me know. If they have told of where they searched, please let me know. It's a disgrace, and it is time for justice for Sebastian Rogers. Far too long in this case, there has been silence from law enforcement, silence from the mother, in my opinion, silence from the stepfather, thank God, in my opinion, and silence from law enforcement, DCF, and everyone else. Well, Sebastian has a voice, and it's called Seth Rogers. And he filed a lawsuit against Sumner County and DSF in Tennessee. And I believe, in my opinion, that is going to cause a lot of movement. Because if we talk about it, if they go and if they do open up, the father is requesting a jury trial, requesting that the DCF reports against the stepfather and his son, whom he was targeting, in my opinion, will be revisited. That case will be reopened. When that case is reopened, my friends, whose name is all over those reports to be investigated further? Littlefoot. To the point where Sebastian was going possibly be removed from the home. Now, I do want to talk to you about the CPIT team, the investigative team through DCF, Sumner County. I've been doing some digging on the CPIT team, the Child Advocacy Center, and the DA's office. So definitely hit that subscribe, because that is coming. And it is very eye-opening when you break it all down to see who's benefiting and what's going on. So don't miss that live. It's coming up. Sebastian was reported missing Monday morning, February 26th, home alone with his mother, who claims all of the doors were locked when they went to bed. And when she awakened, they were still locked, but Sebastian was nowhere to be found. Now, one thing we know in true crime is when you have no evidence, you're probably not listening to the correct story, correct? So a child who would walk out a door without his coat, his money, anything, shoes, none of it, his phone, nothing. You would expect to see things like dogs following scents, and I'll get to that in a minute about Mr. Proudfoot's trail that he told everyone about. Dogs tracking scents, cameras picking up the child, eyewitness statements, maybe a shoe, anything. But there has been absolutely nothing. Reason being, in my opinion, is because we're not receiving the truth. No, lack of evidence is evidence. Lack of evidence is evidence. Now, before we get started, for those of you who are wondering, well, if you're new to the case, who is this stepfather we're talking about? I will share a little information for you, a little audio of him, so you can familiarize yourself with the individual we are talking about today. The individual who says, law enforcement knows everything. The individual, in my opinion, because I have a right to it, who has little man syndrome, which is a social stereotype, also known as Napoleon complex or short man syndrome, because he is short, suggesting that shorter men act overtly and overly aggressive, loud, and domineering to compensate for their tiny little height. So we're going to listen to this man. I won't even say man, excuse the term in my opinion, but I'm going to share some audios throughout this live as I'm making points about the things that he has said, done, and not said and not done. Let me play the first audio for you. Hold on one moment. Let's see which one I'm playing for you first. Okay, this is the one. Let me put down. I've got to share the screen. Sorry, y'all. This is from my channel, Primetime Buzz. And this was about a year ago. Let me get the exact date. April 16th of 2025. Littlefoot gets on YouTube and starts exploding verbally. Make sure I have it turned up for you.
We're going to show. Yeah.
So you heard you talking about Brittany J, right?
Yeah.
That bitch couldn't get fucked if she ran through a field of dicks backwards with her ass cheeks spread wide the fuck open. So.
Sorry, you all, I forgot to say trigger warning when this person speaks. Usually it is a trigger warning. When people use vile language to fill in their conversations, it's usually covering for weakness, in my opinion. And I will get to the comments right on the other side of this. I want you all to listen. Those who are not familiar with the stepfather, this beautiful teenager at 15 years old, high functioning autism, vulnerable, had to live with.
You can play that shit for that bitch to hear. You really want to fucking know. She ain't had her fucking feelings crushed, but I'll do my minimum to fucking destroy her fucking feelings.
And just to give you another piece of context, there were bulletin boards that went up around Sumner County, Nashville, the area, and it said about Sebastian, had Sebastian's picture on it, and said things like explaining he's missing, he was taken, etc. Well, that really set the stepfather off. And he got on this live, and in my opinion, he got on this live angry about the bulletin boards, but deflected it into Brittany. And that is just my opinion. So keep listening. He's talking about a YouTuber, but I think it's because those bulletin boards really shook him. They really shook him. And why would they shake him? They're only meant to shake the perp, right? The one with knowledge, the one with doing. So why?
Because quite honestly, that bitch needs to close her fucking mouth before she stuff a whole goddamn turkey in it and choke on the fucking chicken leg on the way down. And hell, by doing it, she might actually do something good for her kids and her husband. So fuck that bitch. I'm sitting tired of listening to this fucking bitch run her mouth about me, my wife, my family, and anybody else out there. When that bitch she ain't fucking no angel. She ain't no goddamn perfect person. Fuck her.
I can't argue any of that. You
and anybody that fucks with her can fuck off too.
So for those of you new to the case, I think you just got a glimpse of whom Sebastian Rogers had to live with. Hi, Pebbles. Hi, Elaine. And that was my question, Elaine. With the threats he has made in the last 2.5 years on the airwaves, why has he not been arrested, in my opinion? How about why was he not arrested when they were going to remove a child from a home because he was so dangerous that Sebastian couldn't live with him, in my opinion, speculating. Hi, Joanne. Why wasn't he arrested? Do not miss that live coming up where you see my thumbnail talking about the Child Protective Investigative Team. That is coming up. There are so many things in this case that this mouse, in my opinion, that this Littlefoot has said, done, and not said, that in other counties, in my opinion, he would be behind bars. We have seen many cases where children go missing and they announce on the media that the step-parent or the parent has had reports from CPS prior. They detain them, they bring them in, they question them. Some of them even go behind bars, but not Littlefoot. Littlefoot, yes, his eyes. He even threatened Seth, the father, that if he opened his mouth, he'd make sure he never opened it again. Yeah, thank you, his eyes, for that reminder. It's dangerous, and imagine being a child who has trouble, a challenge with identifying emotions of others around, right? And yet you live in a house where, in my opinion, you have to be aware of the emotions around because you have these sudden explosions. Hi, Brandy and Indy. These sudden explosions. Hi, Taurus. So imagine being a child who has a trouble identifying emotions ahead of time, knowing how to react to them, all of that, but yet has to walk on eggshells because they never know when Littlefoot's going to explode. Hi, Jasper. Welcome in. Hey, you all, hit that thumbs up, please. Let's get this out there. This man needs to be known for what he has done and said throughout this case. Okay. So we're going to talk about Littlefoot. You know, we've heard him in the last 2.5 years threaten many people. He said to Elevated Truth, come on over here. He said to Dog, come on, dare you to come on by my door, knock on my door, kick my door in. But you know what you notice? Littlefoot never has the cojones to go to them. He always says, come to me, come on. Well, a real man would go to them, in my opinion. So on February 26, 2024, when Sebastian was reported missing, we had a stepfather and a mother whom he lived with, where he disappeared from. Local sources saying the first they heard of the case was that the stepfather and mother didn't want their name out there and didn't want their address. Now, you tell me, if your child goes missing from your address and you want to find them, you're not going to hide your address. Why would you need to hide your address? Didn't anyone find that suspicious? Law enforcement? Why would his name not want out there? The Proudfoot name. Interesting, right? Odd, right? Interesting and very odd. Because instead of looking and searching, having people scour all over to look for him, they had to hide their name and address, which is, in my opinion, hi, Kiki, hi, Mama, which is, in my opinion, when we saw the alert that went out that said Sebastian was last seen in the area of Stafford Court, it finally dawned on me. The reason it was worded that way, he did threaten Seth. Yes, he told him if he opened his mouth and made this any bigger than it already is, all of it. He also said if he repeated what Bobby told to him. Remember? He said if you say one word about, he's always threatening everyone, but he's walking around. But I think those tides are going to turn now that law enforcement is under the microscope along with DCF. I think the tides are going to turn. But he explodes. He doesn't help. He didn't want his name and address out there. And I find that really interesting why he didn't want his name out there. Because he hides behind his mommy's name, in my opinion. He hides behind his mommy's name. Remember when the neighbors were out there night 1, night 2, and driving through the neighborhood, and he asked them what they're doing and get out of here, and you don't know who my mother is. Hiding behind his mommy from moment 1, but doesn't want his name out there. What does he have to hide? Well, during the 2.5 years, allegedly, we found out what he had to hide was hands being put on ex-wives, allegedly, in my opinion. Hands being put on ex-wives, mouths being slapped of children with braces, an entire story with his ex-wife, Miss Nina, babies being tossed on tables in the car seat, his sister, Melissa, saying, run her over, all of that. That's the family we're dealing with. The step-grandfather showing up at the door with a bat when the mother tries to go back and get her child. That's what we are dealing with here. Most male perpetrators to victims are not strangers, and I'm talking about abuse. Most male perpetrators are not strangers. They are frequently known and trusted by the child and family, including stepfathers, relatives, family, friends, neighbors, or authority figures like teachers and coaches. Perpetrators often try to project an image of being well, respected. See, he does that with his mother's name. Stable, ordinary members of society, holding secure jobs, maintaining active social networks. Well, when we talk about active social networks and a person who says their family is so well known in the area, and he's a big shot, can someone explain to me why not one person from Tennessee or Sumner County who's known the family, knows him, he's from there, why hasn't one person, not anyone he went to high school with, no one from the Navy, no one from his other jobs, friendships, even his step siblings, cousins, not one person has come out and said, he is a man of fine character. Not one. And we need to think about that. Not one. Not one person has come out on his behalf that I know of. If you know, let me know. He has started with this, and that's interesting, and that's actually kind of concerning in my opinion, because we all know people in our lifetime. And we all have people who would come forth and say this, this, and this about our character, our integrity, who we are, how we form relationships, etc. No, not here. One thing we did have is a relative who came forth and said he believes he's very capable of doing something like this. Yes, that's what came forth. So we have a man for the last almost 2.5 years. We'll be specific, 910 days, 130 weeks, 2 years, 5 months, and 29 days, has tried to control a narrative, even though he claims he wasn't there. Even though he claims he wasn't there. So what we have to think about, first of all, is why was it such a joke for him? He's had so much fun with himself for the last 2.5 years, in my opinion. Dressing up like sheriff, making his little coin phrases like crystal clear and $1 million question, which I'm going to get to in a second. What if this goes south? If you want to find him, go to church. All of it. But nothing to contribute to finding his stepson. Not searching, not seen with flyers, left the home. So let's talk about the person who shows up allegedly after this just happens. Sebastian's been reported missing. He allegedly drives from Mississippi or Memphis. He was staying in a camper in Mississippi, a fifth wheel, and he was working at the St. Jude's Project in Memphis. So why would you show up when you find out your stepson's missing and you have your wife has told you he ran away, but yet you show up at the house and your first words to the father basically are, if this goes south, what are you going to do? Now let's talk about that. First of all, only an insensitive ass would say that. Excuse my language. He loves to poke at Seth. But second of all, why didn't he go in with confidence saying, oh, dude, we're going to find him. He's probably up at the White House High School, or he's walked to Culver's, or he's on his way to your house. Don't worry, dude, we're going to find him. Oh, no. What if this goes south? What are you going to do? Very odd statement. And now I'm going to ask you this, Mr. CP, what are you going to do? when your plan goes south, in my opinion. Lori Wind, I want to thank you so much real quick for becoming a new member. Welcome to the family. Members onlys are coming. And as you can tell from the information coming out, they are going to be don't miss, because I will share other things, my actual out of my mouth that I don't want on the airwaves for everyone. Baby Pickle 333, thank you so much for the 5 jewels treat. I appreciate that so much. Mama, thank you for being a new member. Welcome to the family. Welcome our new members. And Minnie gave me 100 jewels. Thank you donating to the channel, Minnie. Marshmallow High. You all are amazing. Thank you so much. Well, what we have to do, my friends, is we see things are closing in. Here's a man who thought he was funny. He thought he could use YouTube to his advantage. He thought he could, in my opinion, manipulate YouTubers to assist him. And we're going to have a video on that one too, by the way. And he hasn't helped. And then we find out through everything, after watching this guy this whole time, with his mouth, with his violent terms, with his vulgar terms, not helping, not curious. North Carolina sighting came up. Everyone thought that was Sebastian. Out of his mouth, oh, it's not him. How do you know? How do you know? Yes, Becky, I'm going to discuss that too, about the canceled appointment. We have a lot of lives coming up. A lot of them. I've been actually making a list of what I want to hit on. The garage is another one. The stuff, if you all recall, I did a video a while ago called The Garage. And now it looks like, my friends, that in my opinion, it could be a very important link. And that is my opinion. And this, if you want to know, is the video right here, The Garage. I will tag it at the end here, but if you want to go back and watch it, please do. Please go back and watch that. So he's also made statements that law enforcement knows everything. Well, that was a lot of confidence there. And if law enforcement knows everything, and allegedly has been hiding it from the public and the world, and the Amber Alert still out there, and all of this illegal, in my opinion, stuff that has been going on, and now there's a lawsuit on the way they've investigated the case, no one's covering for him anymore. If that's been going on, in my opinion, no one. He's thrown out these statements talking about law enforcement on a first name basis, Bobby and Brandon and all of that. Well, now because he's done that and there's a lawsuit, it's going to be looked into, in my opinion. Also, his statement about the $1 million question. I would like to know, is that just a funny another way he's talking and dropping another little clue because he, for some reason, is alluding to the Craddock's $1 million home? I don't know. Isn't that a coincidence? The $1 million question. And we have, and I'm not accusing anyone, but this very same year, a sheriff who built $1 million home on property he hadn't built on yet for a year or two. No accusations, just speculating. How about the fact that he belittled his stepson? And that it's even in the CPS reports about the belittling, demeaning behavior. But then that makes sense a little bit when we look up Bledsoe, right? The academy he and KP wanted Sebastian to go to. They're being charged with demeaning, belittling, physical abuse to children. So it's kind of like parallel to what he was going through at the home is what they wanted to put him into again, in my opinion. If you're coming in, welcome in, and thank you so much for being here. I want to share with you this audio Rest in peace, Peter Hyatt, our amazing statement analyst who covered this case. He had on Lauren Conlon, who is now with LA Magazine, and she was sharing a story that had been shared with her regarding CP and Sebastian at a grocery store. I shared this with you all long ago when we heard it, but we're going to revisit it. But I just want to make that connection between Bledsoe, belittling, demeaning, physical A, and what was going on in the home. And I also want to say he's never praising Sebastian. Have you heard him? But the one thing I've heard him praise him on is that he managed to do this without evidence. Now, here's my opinion when I hear that from a narcissist. Allegedly. He doesn't praise others. He only praises the work of himself. So my opinion in that statement, and I'm speculating, is that he's praising himself for the no evidence. And that's my opinion. I'm not accusing anyone. And it's based on his mouth, his statements, his behavior. And then I wonder, how did he get KP to choose him over her son? Allegedly. And I say that because there's visits from CPS. And she didn't kick him out. She didn't take Sebastian and run, file for divorce. She remained, and Sebastian disappeared. I'm going to play this audio with you. Again, it is a trigger warning, and it's very sad. And this is from July 15th, 2024. 5 months, less than 5 months after Sebastian went missing.
I can share something as well while you find that. A local source did indicate that somebody saw something fairly recently, an incident with Sebastian at a grocery store where Chris allegedly was very forceful and rough with him, so much so that Sebastian hid behind a cash register. So I'm looking into that, and I'm going to be reaching out to that grocery store to see if they have any additional information about that, if they witnessed that, because that, again, is just one more instance of just pure and utter heartbreak.
Isn't it? He was so rough with him, allegedly in public, at a grocery store, that witnesses saw Sebastian hiding behind a cash register. Now, KP might not have known that. KP might not have known that at the time, but she knows it now. She's known it for almost 2 years, yet remained with the man who treated him like that. Hi, Wicked Sister. Good to see you. Hi, Lisa B. Always. Ooh, broccoli and baby back ribs. Yum. Very good. Sounds like a good dinner. Hi, Retired Ganny. So he's on report. Sebastian's outcrying. He's trying to get custody of his child, his daughter. The child he's got reports against him for abusing is outcrying. Visits are coming to the home, and it's going to affect his custody. Just think about that. In my opinion, that's a motive. Not only that, he's trying to watch his little tush, in my opinion. This possibly could be. Sebastian goes missing, so CP can shove all that off his shoulders. But the problem we have here, you all, is, I hope so too, Nicey. Nicey said she hopes law enforcement is watching. They've said they don't watch social media, but I hope they are too. And I hope Nina's watching. Nina knows all. Nina's got his number, in my opinion. But it blows my mind. Then we find out biological father was never contacted. Sumner County's on the investigative team. And then Sumner County's the lead agency investigating. Something ain't right here, right? Something's not right. Why was he never brought in for questioning or charges when those reports were being filed? Why were they dropped? And it was not to protect Sebastian, because he went missing afterwards. So excuse what I'm about to say. So this little punk wanted custody of another child. So removed, in my opinion, possibly could have happened. The child who he didn't want around his. The child who could have kept him from getting custody because he knew exactly how many times, what, and how he was treated. Right? Oh, Wicked Sister, I told everyone when you see my thumbnail about the Child Protective Investigative Team, I'm bringing up CB. I have broken it down. I have gone through it, and it's just like a blaring light to me what was going on. So don't miss it. Hit the subscribe. You don't want to miss the one where I'm talking about the Child Protective Investigative Team that was focused on Littlefoot because of his treatment of Sebastian. But he's gotten away with it. Now, D.A. Whitley, who was in office for over 40 years and never managed to bring a charge against the guy who was abusing an autistic child, vulnerable child, skedaddled on out of office after 40 years and not moving his tush out of that seat. He skedaddled out of office with less than 2 weeks' notice. Someone from the DA's office was on that investigative team, too. Someone from Sumner County was as well. But if that gets reopened, like Seth Rogers, the father, is asking, all eyes are going to go back on Littlefoot, because that's who is the one it's about. Black Larry, hey Jay, do you know if it's true that Clue and her crew have been on the payroll of Nick the Hat? Absolutely not true. I will say that. Absolutely not true. Thank you for asking, though, Black Larry, rather than spreading a rumor. I appreciate that. Is it true there were 2 SUVs at the BP serve? Because I heard about one. What I was told, Wicked, is I received a tip, which I turned in a long time ago, that the tip told me, I wish I had pulled it up for you. It said that KP allegedly was not. Hi, Jerry. Oh, thank you so much, Jerry. You're so kind. I appreciate your donation to the channel. I appreciate it. Helps me have to tutor less and be with you all more. You're welcome, Donna Jo. Thank you for your support, Sebastian's Army, all of you. I think they're scrambling, Brandy. Absolutely. The garage is coming, Becky. I've said it back in July of 2024. I believe it was, and we're going to go, that's coming up, and there's some things that we need to talk about with that. A lot of things. Cinderella said if he would have just taken his punishment, none of this would have happened. Correct. But you know, sometimes people feel that they're above the law. And sometimes that feeling comes because their parents instill in them they're above the law, and that mommy will bang a broom and sweep it all up. I'm just alleging. I'm just giving an example. Hey, you guys, let's hit that thumbs up, please. Let's get this out here. Only half of you have hit that thumbs up, and we want this out there. There's a lot of people new to the case who don't know all of this. They haven't heard all these audios. They don't know all about, like, a relative coming out and saying they believe he's capable of doing something like this. Those are the things we want people to hear. Hi, Christy Smith. Hello, Taurus the Good Witch. Thank you so much for your generosity. 10 jewels, gold coins. You rock. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's get back to it. Now he has His alliances that he thought he had are talking. So, you know, when you are a narcissist, excuse my term, and I'm not saying he is, I'm just throwing that term out there because I felt like saying it. When you're a narcissist and everything's about you, absolutely everything is about you, suddenly, I just lost my train of thought. Something came across my thing. Sorry, you guys. Everything's about them, right? Let me go back to the comment because I was going to bring it up for you guys. Kung Fu, just the information about, I'll get back to you guys, just the new information about everything that's been coming out in the streets, the lawsuit, his alliances, that's what I was talking about. His alliances, thank you so much, Taurus, again for your generosity. His alliances are now speaking because, you know, when you got a narcissist, they like to brag. Law enforcement knows everything. Well, now he's put law enforcement in a position, he and KP have, with those numerous statements on, they weren't private, all over the internet. Even when the FBI came out with a reward, the first reward, the $50,000, they were nowhere to be found that first day. No thank you, no nothing. People talked about that, so they came out. And what did KP say to the camera? Law enforcement knows everything. Talk to them. So imagine being law enforcement, being put in that position, and they ignore it. They make it go away. It's silent. We pretend a child's not missing in our town, allegedly. We don't talk about them. We don't hold press conferences. We say there's no foul play. Well, how can you say that when he got taken from a home where there were a stepfather who was abusing him? Wouldn't an actual investigator that put out a light in their head? I was on a team investigating this home, this stepfather. We closed it. The child's missing. You bring him in, you detain him, you arrest him for the abuse, and you find out any other information you can. That's my opinion. But instead, people went silent. And I have a theory, and don't miss it. Hit your notification bells because it's my next video. It's my next video, and it's like a map where it all comes down back to. So here's a stepfather who claims he's not in town during the disappearance of his stepson. Many speculating that it's because DCF told him he was not allowed to be in the home. Well, we all also recall the statement from the mouth, Littlefoot's mouth, stating he thought he was going to get me kicked out of my own home. Huh. In my opinion, that's another motive. Because little men, short men, Littlefoot, they don't like it when someone bucks them, when someone pushes back. But a man who claims he wasn't there, a mouse who claims he wasn't there, whatever you want to call him, my opinion, speculating, who's not there, had to control the narrative. And there's a reason he had to control that narrative. I wish there was a breakthrough, Kung Fu. We are going over a lot of the stuff. Well, there's a lot of things that are coming out. Yes, absolutely. And with the lawsuit against DCF and with, sorry, my phone's going off and I can't find it. Okay. With the lawsuit about DCF and Sumner County coming from the biological father, things are cracking open. His alliances are starting to talk. They're saying, some are saying Elevated Truth said he's not honest. He's not being honest. How did he know if he wasn't there, my friends? Don't you think there should have been some curiosity from law enforcement? You're under the radar. We close the case. The child goes missing. And what did law enforcement know? That they say law enforcement knows everything. If I were chief of police or sheriff and someone's child goes missing and they kept saying law enforcement knows everything, I would have gone on and said, we know nothing. We don't know what this loony's talking about, in my opinion, loony, what he's talking about. But they never did. They never went out and defended themselves on that. So how does he know if he's not there that the license plate readers haven't been working for this amount of time? Why would he know that? Why would he know that? A man who doesn't even know the year of his own truck. But yet he knows how long the license plate readers and on what roads aren't working. Law enforcement, why didn't that send you a red flag? How did he know the height of the pond? Admittedly, up to his knees, but doesn't know now, just at the time of the disappearance. Law enforcement, that should have been a red flag. You got a guy with DSF reports. Child goes missing. You were going to remove him from the home. The man's so dangerous to the child. He knows the pond length near the house that the dog jumped into. He knows what license plate readers are broken to not catch the 3 a.m. vehicle. He actually starts telling people, even though law enforcement stated numerous times that no dog trail, no scent was tracked, no dog trail was tracked, he went on and gave a description of where he claimed the scent was followed. Well, that wasn't a scent he was describing. He was describing where the flashlights were. How would he know exactly his idea of where the scent was matched the flashlights? You know, the flashlights that were behind the home of a 15-year-old who went missing was reported missing 3 hours later. But law enforcement, there's no foul play. There's no foul play. We got a man with DCF records against the very child that disappeared, but there's no foul play. We've got Littlefoot knowing the LPRs that are broken, knowing the height of the pond. No, sorry, there's no foul play here. He recites the flashlight trail, the flashlight stuff going on exactly, but saying it's a dog scent, but there's nothing going on here. There's flashlights behind the home of a child before he goes missing, before he's reported missing. No foul play, no evidence to foul play. Never mentions that there's a stepfather who had problems with the child. They never share with the public, and we've heard it in other cases. CPS has been to that house before. This child was on CPS's radar before they went missing. The boyfriend, the girlfriend, the mom, the dad, the step-parent has reports against them, charges from DCF. None of the above. Why wouldn't they mention that? Why wouldn't he at least be mentioned as a person of interest based on his obvious disdain, in my opinion, for Sebastian? Well, they'll be answering those questions now, won't they? They'll be answering. The DA's office will have to answer. Whitley was the one there, so I'm sure he'll be brought in if that happens. He will have to answer why he managed not to bring charges against a man where there was evidence he was abusing, allegedly, a child. Yet he can bring charges against a YouTuber who never even met the parents, the stepfather and the mother of this child, and they're claiming they're scared of her. But those charges he could warrant, but not to protect Sebastian. And that's what that video is coming up about with the Child Protective Investigative Team. Who were they benefiting? Who were they protecting? He doesn't search. He has no curiosity about what happened to Sebastian, in my opinion. He loves to play dress up and get joked because he thinks he has friends now. So let's go back to the fact that no one came forward on his behalf about his character and integrity. In my opinion, that's because the guy doesn't have friends. All he has right now, in my opinion, is this case and a few YouTubers who gave him a little attention and got themselves involved, allegedly, which, boy, bad choice, apparently. No friends to say he's a good guy. Nothing. No one. Let me go back to the comments real quickly. Yes, justice for Sebastian. Yep, we seen what he went to bed in. We would have heard it if he climbed out that window or if he opened the garage. We would have heard it. Who's we? Got a mouse in your pocket, KP? Icy Bama, thank you so much for the 350 jewels. Finger heart, very generous. You all, I'm really trying to get to where I can be on here more, tutor less, sub less. So thank you so much. That helps. So, you know, that's another thing, Nicey. I sent to Brandon Carter an email. I'm sorry for you who are listening. Let me put it up. Nicey said, I wish Ellie would be checking Lori's whereabouts that weekend. Her dad on her phone, in my opinion, talking in the house about rings, jewelry, vacation, but couldn't take Sebastian to Disney World. All of it's despicable. All of it. Absolutely. Absolutely despicable, and let's talk about it. I find it very interesting that Lori was never mentioned. I also find it very interesting that Dara Nebel, who went on Facebook long ago and said that Katie, Sebastian, and the cousin stopped by her house that afternoon, that Sunday afternoon. Well, as soon as I found my screenshot, I sent it to Brandon Carter, I think a couple months ago, and Brandon's response was, I said, Brandon, did you know that KP stopped at Dara's that day? And his response was, we are well aware of the events of that day. We are well aware of the events of that day. So if they are well aware that she stopped at Dara's, why did that have to be removed from the narrative, but spaghetti pancakes was inserted? Think about it. Why did they fib and say trash trucks were in the backyard? Think about it. Why didn't they separate everyone and interview them? They interviewed them together, which, my gosh, now that we know Sumner County was on the investigative team, they knew who Sebastian was. They knew what was being done to him. They go to his house 8 months later and he's missing, and they don't take the guy who's on the DCF papers and separate him and interview him. Oh boy, heads are going to roll when all of this starts coming out. Department of Justice has basically investigation 101, the things you do. And you separate them. You put up crime scene tape. All of the above that wasn't done. And they're going to have to answer, in my opinion, for every decision they made or didn't make. Trash trucks in the yard, yeah. But yet, the whole thing about them trying to prove Sebastian was home was he took out the trash to the end of the driveway and is on camera. We'll talk about the lies about the camera footage too. But if that's the case, if they were trash trucks rolling through the backyards, why isn't Sebastian's chore to take the trash out to the backyard? Do they think we're fools, in my opinion? Talking about jewelry in front of a father, and supposedly it should upset the mother, allegedly, right after their child goes missing, what vacations to the Caribbean you want to go to next and what jewelry you want. And even KP allegedly chimed in and said, I want a bigger ring. How could you even put a thought together like that when your most precious gem is missing, Sebastian? It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I'm trying to go through the comments now. If you were in the bushes listening, I'm going to go to the comments real quick. We still have more to cover. But why was Dara's left out of Dara's visit? What happened at Dara's house? Remember, she picked up her niece, allegedly, or it was a whole big deal about what niece and blah, blah, blah. Picked up her niece, and Dara says she, Sebastian, and the niece went to Dara's house. I find it very interesting that that has been having to be omitted from the narrative. But we've got the bowling alley, we got BJ's, we got colossal popcorn, we got spaghetti pancakes. And another thing is when you listen to experts who listen to people tell what happened when they ask, okay, so tell me what happened about like a missing child or an event that happened, and they rewind like 24 hours and build up to it. They said that is ludicrous. That's not what happens. What you do is you say, okay, so we went out to dinner, we were with so and so, we came home, took out the trash, he went to his room, I woke him up, boom. You don't go through phone calls bragging to family, especially when your family, one of them is a lifelong registered S offender. I mean, things like that are added, but a stop to someone's home is deleted. Well, let me tell you, my friends, that's because it's important. So what happened at Dara's? Was it some sort of a deal, in my opinion? Rugs, in my opinion? Speculating? Was it a goodbye? Did they stop in so she could say goodbye, in my opinion? Because let's not forget, we're talking about the mother who called Sebastian's doctor's office the Friday before she reported him missing and said he wouldn't be at his appointment the following week. She gave no explanation. She did not reschedule, and this was unusual, the nurse said. She said because it's an ongoing appointment and Sebastian doesn't miss his appointments. So why didn't law enforcement, when Seth gave them that tip from the nurse, why didn't they beat it over there to ask that nurse about that? And then why didn't they go get that mother, take her in and ask her how she knew 3 days before Sebastian went missing that he couldn't make that appointment that week? That's what an actual investigator does. Now, of course, if you're just an admin guy who's worked his way up, you know, being appointed and all that because another sheriff passed away, excuse me. Yeah, maybe you don't have those investigative skills because you've not been on the streets. But I would assume the detective you put on it would, and that should have set off a red flag. I'm still going through the contents. Yes, Jenny, if you go back to my video called The Garage, and then there's another one called The Trash, and we're going to be talking about both. Actually, that's so funny you say that because I have The Trash down as one of ours. Again, I'm going to revisit it. I have two videos, The Garage and The Trash, and they're from a long time ago, but they're all relevant, coming back relevant now, aren't they? But why are we leaving certain things out of the narrative? Why was the haircut left out of the narrative? But yet we've got the bowling alley where they were only there for a very short time. We've got colossal popcorn added to the narrative. Does that help people find Sebastian? Colossal popcorn? No. It sure doesn't. But possibly why she visited an individual and left it out could help us figure some things out. Yes. So I find it very sketchy why certain things are being left out of the narrative. So my friends, we need to look at those things that are left out. The Brinks truck that he didn't want to talk about. His truck that he doesn't know the year. Don't get me started on the motion lights. I've got that one coming up too. We're going to watch Nancy Grace because I have a little video showing their motion lights. But why weren't the important things discussed? Remember when the mother originally said that she took him to his favorite restaurant because he loves salmon and asparagus? She put up a picture of that restaurant with them sitting on the same side of the booth together and smiling, like trying to pass that off, in my opinion, as that night. Then the real footage came out from that night and dog, sitting across from each other, and he was not eating salmon. But why would you lie about that? In my opinion. Why? Why would you do that? Becky says, In my opinion, this case has been botched from the beginning of the investigation, with the police acknowledging more than what they were saying about the incident with Sebastian. And you know what, Becky, that's very true. And in normal cases, the law enforcement doesn't need to tell us anything, right? However, this isn't a normal case because we have silence. They don't put out his picture. They don't do press conferences. They haven't released the vehicle that they know they saw in the command post on the footage day one, my sources told me. And they didn't go to the public and say, lock your doors, lock your windows. We have a maniac pulling children out of bed. They didn't do that, you guys. I think they didn't do that because they didn't want to, in my opinion, unnecessarily alarm the community. Well, unnecessarily meaning, in my opinion, they knew it wasn't a strange maniac who just happed upon the house and jumped in with flashlights and all of that and took him out of the house. No, just poof. Right? They knew that. That's why, in my opinion, it all goes back. It's a trail, my friends. And I will do that live tomorrow. I'll commit to doing that live on the investigative team tomorrow because the way I break it down, boy, does it show a trail. You know, Wicked, the phone burners in the retention pond, the burner phones. I was thinking that too, but they drained the pond. I heard they found a hat, but I can't verify that. Okay. Yep. The truck, the Brinks van, the motion lights. Him saying, don't anyone mention my truck. Well, time to look at the truck. The truck that he claims he doesn't know the year of, but he knows every LPR license plate reader that doesn't work in the area. Isn't that a little weird, you guys? In my opinion, it's very weird. Okay. I'm trying to look SI officer and who all was there plying. I'm not sure what you mean, SI. Write it again and I'll read it. Jasper says, Sebastian was traumatized and DCF knew. Yes. They are under severe investigation. 14 to be exact that were brought against them, and other investigations about the way they had the children sleeping in offices, being SA'd, being on drugs, etc. Their answer, DCF's answer, we don't have enough room. Well, guess what? I'm sick and tired of Tennessee's making excuses for themselves why they're not protecting their children. If you can't protect the kids, take off your badge, put it on the table, and get yourself somewhere else to work. Because this is getting ridiculous, Tennessee. Let's go back. This is what I want to talk to you about. Thank you, SI officer, for saying this. And in my opinion, what exact kind of poker party was there? We have been told by another YouTuber, I got a message from one of her mods saying she's the one who broke the news about the poker party, because other people are saying she took that down now. Claiming there was a poker party and that she heard it from Danny G, someone who she went to high school with. And that Sebastian allegedly got in trouble for looking on a computer and was in a lot of trouble that night. Now, this is all alleged because we don't have proof. But I want to ask you a question. Do they look like the kind of parents, step-parent and mother, not Seth, that if Sebastian got in severe trouble on Friday night, that they would have a Sunday fun day for him of all his favorite things on Sunday, just for the heck of it? Not to me, they don't. I mean, my gosh, she even takes pictures of his food to send it to CP to say he finished or he didn't finish, giving him ammunition to torture. What type of mother does that, in my opinion? It's disgusting. Jenny, that's something I thought about. I want to be honest with y'all. When I first heard this case, and I've told you this before, I was walking through the And I'm not done with my live. I'm just going through some questions that are really good here, that are prompting some good conversations. But I'm going to go back to the information I was sharing. Jenny by the beach said, I'm thinking he was put outside by KP and didn't return back home. Jenny, that is a really good theory, and I want to tell you why I think that. And then I have to get back to the 2 dark SUVs because I kind of skipped my train of thought on that. So I'm writing that down right now, the 2 dark SUVs, because someone had put that in the comments. I started and got sidetracked. I do that a lot. Sorry, y'all. Please hit the like button. Thank you, Minnie. Thank you so much. And yes, please use in my opinion. I don't want any of you to get in trouble. So when I first heard of this case, my mother, rest in peace, was still alive, and I was living with her, taking care of her. And I had gotten home from teaching, was walking through the living room, and she had this case turned on. And I've told you all before, as I walked through, I heard them say, and he walked out that door with no shoes on and never came back. And then I looked at the screen and saw CP's face. I stopped dead in my tracks. This is the God's honest truth. And I turned to my mother and I said, I don't have to look any further. I'm looking at him. That was my opinion. I couldn't stand the sight of him. There was something about him. And I do think when I heard that first, Jenny, my first thought was he was locked outside. And I don't want to take it from there, but I felt like he was locked outside. And I also felt like when I heard them in an interview a couple weeks down the road and someone said, what do you want to say to Sebastian? They said, you're not in trouble. And CP said, the door's unlocked. Well, why would that matter? You told us Sebastian had the code. Why would Sebastian think the door was locked? Did you lock him out? That's where my mind went. So, Jenny, that could be a great theory. Some people think that happened and someone had arranged for him to be picked up by someone nefarious, allegedly. But I think that's a really good theory. And you know what Seth said, though? If he went out running for his life out of that house, the father said he would have been spotted on camera because he would have kept running. He wouldn't have stopped. Frank says, with all the hate channels fighting, I think poop's about to go down. I do too. And by the way, I do want to tell you, if you haven't watched the interview with Seth, I've got it down. I've got all the information. I watched it for you. But when the interview ended, he said, the host said, and I feel we're going to be getting progress soon. So he said, I feel we're going to be getting progress soon. Hello, Donna. I'm going through some comments. Okay, yeah, don't talk about his truck. Don't talk about the Brinks van. Don't come near the house. Don't search my family's homes. I don't know the year of my truck. Is it a motion light? Yes, ma'am. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. And then KP has to say, oh, yeah, that was on. But law enforcement has never allegedly interviewed them separately. Yes, SI officer. This is a comment that I need to address. SI officer says, and remember one at the command center said that Sebastian wasn't coming back from where he was. Isn't that right, Jay? Yes. My inside source told me when asked, it was day 1 or day 2. And I believe she said it was someone from TBI. I have to go back to my notes. Said after they were searching, was asked a question by an official, how long do we think this search will go on for? And the individual responded with, where he is, he's not coming back from. And, that can be taken 2 ways. Obviously, death. And obviously, in my opinion, not obviously, but in my opinion, it could also be trafficking. The hack could have been a distraction. Good thinking, Valley. Yeah. So Mama, are you talking about an interview? The TIR? I did hear it and I took all the notes. Or are you talking about ET? And I'm still catching up on some of those. Minnie, email me because right now I do not have my phone up. I don't have my phone up because I've been gone for a month, so I'll have to turn it back on, but email me for that work phone. I don't have on. I'll turn that back on, but email me. Yes. The P-Foots had us looking for someone who had the body of a 15-year-old, but the mind of someone much, much, much younger, a nonverbal 8-year-old, as Brandy and Indy says. I hope so too, Happy Cappy. Because what's going to happen is when you don't investigate a case, when you don't investigate a case, I'm sorry, you all, I mentioned a creator and that's opened up something in the chat. That's my bad. I apologize. I always say don't mention creators because someone inevitably comes in and doesn't like the creator or says something. My bad. Let's not mention creators. Please forgive me. Julie says Seth filing lawsuits needed to happen sooner. This case may explode. I agree. I agree on the fact that this case is going to explode. And you know what I'm thinking? And someone just said it. I am thinking once this lawsuit starts and hits court, I'm hoping a judge will recuse Sumner County and have the FBI step in. I don't know if that's a thing, if they can or what, but I think that's probably going to be, in my opinion, if I were a judge, that's what I would say. That's another thing I want to bring up. Oh, you guys are amazing. I'm going through comments if you're in the bushes and I'm going to read them to you. I've always thought there was SA inside that home. Hearing about CP and KP making Sebastian have a safe word for when he wanted self-pleasure, that's sick. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Why did they need to know? When? And let's not speculate there. Hi, Miss Erickson. Hi, Zena. Okay. So if you all recall, when we found out there was DSF to that home, I had said to you, hi, YouTuber. I had said to you all several times, well, if DSF was at the home then, I wonder if DSF paid visits to the Remington Avenue home in Gallatin, and that's why they moved. Lo and behold, I saw something, and it was another creator, and don't mention the names, please. It was another creator who had the timeline, I believe, of DSF, or it might have been in the lawsuit that I saw it. Let me think about it. But regardless, lost my train of thought again. Someone tell me what I was just saying about DCF. Someone tell me what I was just saying, because it's important. Oh, okay. So remember I said, I wonder if they, left from Remington Avenue to get away from DCF, because families do that. They move. And someone had posted like the timeline or something. I may have seen it, not the timeline in the lawsuit, but regardless, it said that DCF had to locate them after the move. So DCF already was on their record. He was already on their radar before they moved to Stafford Court. So when they say there's 2 records of abuse against P-Foot, Littlefoot, Dirtyfoot, my thought is they're talking possibly, I'm just alleging now, 1 at Remington Avenue, 1 on Stafford Court, because it said right in there they had to locate them after the move. So I'm thinking 1 on Remington Avenue and then on to Stafford Court as well. Yes, and they had one in California, and I don't want to discuss that, but we all know what that was about. Pigfoot, love it. Dirty foot, little foot, pigfoot, love it. So that's kind of where I went with that. When I heard 2 in the home, my thought went, oh, I wonder if that's why they left Remington. And we had already discussed that before they moved, right? Right. Because a lot of times when people have, and you all know that, you're in true crime, when they have someone, a record like that, a charge, a investigation and inquiry. We know Summer Wells went missing, during that. A lot of kids go missing when DCF is involved, it seems. It just really does seem like that. But they also move. They move around to avoid. One thing I want to bring up to you before, because we're going to have a video on the garage, but let's not forget my video that I posted many, many moons ago that I'll tag to the end of this, and we're going to do another live too. When KP talks about her 3-minute extensive search for Sebastian from 6 to 6:03, lies. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I had to, excuse me. In my opinion, her 3-minute extensive search around the house, under the house, in the closets, under the beds, in the bathrooms, in the kitchen, upstairs, through the rooms, all of the above. And then she jumps in her car to go looking. What did she skip? The garage. And that's the video I put out like 2 years ago. She skips the garage. What is it about the garage that she doesn't want to talk about? She doesn't say, before I jumped in my car, I checked under it just to make sure, just in case, or I searched the garage, checked under the car, he wasn't there, I jumped in it and went looking. No. Never a mention of a garage, and I wonder if that's going to be a very pivotal location because she can't talk about it. She just can't talk about it, in my opinion. She won't mention it. She doesn't discuss it. She skips right through, never says she searched the garage. Everywhere else. Under the bed, side of the bed, bathroom. She added the bathroom later when someone asked her if she had, after Nancy Grace had asked her if she checked the bathroom. Then she added the bathroom too to her rote narrative. But she never mentions the garage. And you know how sometimes when something happens somewhere, people don't want to bring it up. They don't want to remember. That's just my opinion. He belittled Sebastian. He made him wear pull-ups. Instead of understanding that what Sebastian went through in California, often the physical reaction is accidents. And instead of loving him through that, talking to him through it and helping him through that, he gave all his underwear away to the biological father and made him wear pull-ups and then pull up his shirt. And I think those were pull-up checks. And for those people out there who were trying to minimize the fact that he would smack him on his stomach, bare stomach, how dare you? That ABUSC was so severe in the home that they were going to remove him because of humiliating, demeaning corporal punishment. So how dare you minimize a slap on the stomach? You don't know everything. Everything wasn't put in there for us. But I think we're all intelligent to know you wouldn't remove a child for a little tap on the tummy. Oh, and there's one creator in my head that I'm thinking of, and I'm not going to call her out. She lives overseas. She's wondering, so a little tap on the stomach. Really? Dummy? And I don't usually talk to other people like that. I think you should be intelligent enough to know they don't almost remove kids from the home because of a little tap that everyone's over exaggerating about. she knows who she is if she's listening. Yes, put in foster care, non-custodial housing, but Seth was never called. You know, it makes sense, doesn't it, Julie? Julie, if you're in the bushes, Julie says, I think he's alive and being institutionalized. There is not one thing that points to his death other than the amount of time we haven't seen him, but that doesn't point to it. That's your only little piece. Okay. Hi, Julia. It's your only little, hi, Cappy. It's your only little piece. That's not, and it doesn't prove anything. But what we do have proof of is CPS, wanting to remove him and put him in foster care, possibly. We have a stepfather and a mother who were trying to get him put in residential housing prior to the disappearance. We have a lot of things, in my opinion. The custody case, he didn't want him around his daughter. And if he went to Seth, there would be every other weekend visits. Right? And to choose Bledsoe. I mean, what? You're so thrilled with the environment you got him living in at home. You want to just reconstruct it in a school that's received under charge investigation? It's sickening. And Julie says, I don't think it's a legal type facility. I will tell you, I've moved to Utah. They have a lot of those underground homes. I will tell you that. Remember when we were all watching the program on Netflix and talking about that regarding this case? They pick them up at 3:00 in the morning. Parents know they're coming. They take them out, handcuff them, wake them up, take them, and never to be seen again. Well, when we were talking about all that, a lot of those kids who were in that program there's like a chat group on Facebook and stuff, and many others were coming in talking about other places in Utah. Well, as we were looking through on the program, one of my subscribers and I were looking through all of that, and there's many, many schools that you really just don't know exist here in Utah, because you all know I recently moved to Utah, but they're still here. So when Julie says, I don't think it's a legal type facility, could be. They took they took him, maybe a different passport, maybe DCF placed him. That's what I'm worried about, you all. I'm worried DCF placed him, and that's why Bledsoe was an option. Because Bledsoe takes kids that are wards of the state. Right? And Wicked Sister says, I wonder if there's a family member rural with Sebastian hidden from public eye, in my opinion, or is the SUVs, the facilities that home children out of the county, like California? Oh, interesting. It could be a family member. Now, one of the houses was raided a few times in Virginia, Chesapeake. I don't know, you all, but I can tell you this, in my opinion, he's somewhere alive in a facility or somewhere. There's nothing else. The only other thing we have, and we have to take who the authors are with a grain of salt, is back when some of those YouTubers flew out to Tennessee and claimed they recorded KP. They got in a fight. The YouTubers got into a fight with each other and then started saying, you recorded KP saying she hasn't seen Sebastian's godmother since before he was schmurdered. So now I go back there. That's the only piece, because these are the people, the people involved in what's going on YouTube right now are ones who were involved in saying that. So why didn't law enforcement go ask them for their audio? They should have. Oh, yeah. Anything. Okay, I'm not going to say it. Wicked Sister says, Melissa's comment she did on Facebook, Sebastian got in a car and fell asleep. I thought that may have been Chris's vehicle when he went to Memphis. I did too, Wicked Sister. I thought that was going to be her little way of trying to connect why he was in the backseat of heading to Memphis. I did too. And the fact that she even said that blows my mind. Okay. She's just someone that I have my eye on her too, in my opinion. Because if you think about it, let's speculate. If CP was not involved, let's just say, in our opinions, because we don't know who was, in our opinions, let's say CP wasn't involved and he was planning on leaving KP, the ultimatum and everything, and we now know who KP chose allegedly, but he was planning on leaving KP, marriage over, he's done, okay, and something happens to Sebastian. Do you really think he would put himself through this for 2.5 years if he had nothing to do with it, in my opinion? Possibly, but under one condition. He's protecting someone in his family, in my opinion, because I don't think he would ever protect KP. They were splitting up. I don't think he would protect her, in my opinion, because they were splitting up. I think that he's protecting someone himself or someone in his family, but he wasn't doing this to protect. If it was just KP, let's just say mom did something to Sebastian, we're alleging, he would have had nothing to do with this for 2.5 years. But for some reason, he's had to control, lie, in my opinion, mistreat PIs. That audio is coming in just a second. Mistreat PIs instead of saying, thank you for searching. What have you found? Screaming. No curiosity. Did you find something? Do you know where Sebastian is? Nope. Right into the attack. He wouldn't protect KP. No, in my opinion. He would, if it was just her, something happened to Sebastian, it was just KP, he wouldn't have given a you-know-what, in my opinion. But he would protect himself, his mother, his sister, and maybe his sisters, right? That's why I think that there's many people with knowledge, and that's why he's doing this. Either he's involved, or he's not, and he's protecting someone in his family who is, allegedly, in my opinion, because there's no love lost for him for KP. YouTuber, good point. Unless he's protecting her, unless he's protecting her to prevent her from exposing more of his abuses, in my opinion. Could be. That could be it too. But I do think he is somewhere to be found. People say, well, why hasn't he called? Y'all, they probably made, if you're going to take a child, in my opinion, thank you so much, Pamela, for the 200 jewels, sunshine. So sweet, so thoughtful and considerate, and I truly do appreciate it. If you're going to take a child and put them somewhere, I don't know, you all, it's a lot to think about, right? It's something just to keep thinking about, because if you're going to put a child somewhere, Two Dozen Roses, hello. I'm just pondering if you're going to put a child somewhere, I'm just going through the thinking of it. Sorry, guys. Let me go back to this. 2 Dozen Roses. Also, when Sebastian leans over to look at the picture on KP's phone at Texas Roadhouse, it sure looked like a light yellow building she was showing him where he was going, regarding where he was going. Watch that whole video with them eating. I sure will. I actually watched it the other day, but I will absolutely watch it again. Yeah, and so KP had this big story that morning, what did she do? Her big 3-minute search, right? through the house, never, ever, ever mentioning the, I don't know, just guys, it just drives me crazy because it just keeps going in my head. I'm trying to think it through, and it's just so hard to. So she said she went right to the high school. That was her original narrative. Went right to the high school to look for him at the high school. Stepdad even got into an argument with Elevated Truth about why she went to the high school. Stepdad saying, well, why wouldn't she go look up at the high school? She was up there looking for his kid. No, she was not. She pulled in. She drove through with her windows open, never looking, and pulled out on the other side exactly where several residents from the area saw Kathy Bowersox parked. Speculatively, in my opinion, allegedly. Prior to him being reported missing. So I find that really convenient. You don't have your windows up. You're not looking left or right for your child. You're not screaming his name, but you go in, you go out, you exit on the other side, right where people are saying they saw Mama Socks with her almost identical vehicle. Executing something. And Brandy says, and by the cemetery, allegedly, in my opinion. That's what I'm going to bring up now. Someone asked me if there were truly 2 dark SUVs at the BP. Okay, so I received a tip quite a while ago. I turned it in right away. And what it said was that KP was not alone driving home from Texas Roadhouse, that Sebastian was with her, obviously, and that she stopped at the BP, was talking to someone in another dark SUV, and told Sebastian to get out. Okay, now I'll take that even further. I might want to save that. I might have to save that for members only. I need to save what I was about to say for members only because I don't know if that's been out there yet. But then she takes it even further, in my opinion. Something she says that I heard from a source, very reliable, links in my mind the BP. And I'm writing it down right now to make sure that I share that with you guys in a members only. Because I don't want to say that in case, I'm not sure if that has gotten out there. But I'll share it in a members only this weekend. Okay? Karma will handle it all. That's right. Now, mind you, there's people who care about Sebastian. We still do. Sebastian's Army. We have a PI who approached their home and wanted to talk to them because she had been looking at the RSOs in the area. And there was one near Sebastian that caught her attention that she wanted to speak to. Now, mind you, we're 3 months into Sebastian being missing. And she contacts Sumner County, and they had not contacted that guy yet. 3 months, my friends. One of the initial things you do is find out where those RSOs were. 3 months, and Sumner County had never contacted him and told the PI, yeah, sure, go ahead. So she goes over to the Proudfoots to discuss this with them, and she cannot get a word in, and I'm going to play it for you. She cannot get a word in edgewise because instead of saying, have you found him? Do you know anything? Did you find anything out? They unleashed on her about stepping on their sidewalk. And by the way, I think this is the audio I'm going to play for you where he also mentions he has cameras. He slips. He starts to slip. So let's listen to this and then we'll come back and talk about it. But normally, if I see a PI and my kid's missing, if I see a PI and my dog's missing, hi, Nathan, I'm going to open the door and say, did you find him? They said nothing. And he is referring to her as woman and stuff. Another thing, doesn't talk. He's a big man when he wants to be, right? In my opinion. I'm going to play this audio for you, and trigger warning, as usual, when we do have Littlefoot on there, he uses vile language due to lack of a vocabulary, in my opinion. That's my opinion, and I have a right to it. And so we're going to listen to the audio from the PI approaching, and you tell me if this sounds like two parents who are curious about what happened or if someone knew information. Trigger warning. And her tarnished hubby, Chris, as they viciously lash out at a brave woman daring to search for Seth Rogers' missing son, Sebastian. Seth is looking for his son. Oh, sorry, guys. This is how it's been going on our property. No one's searching any family. Are being set the door. Sorry, guys.
That is my property. That is my property. My name's Heather. I came by yesterday.
Sorry, guys. I don't know. Hold on one second. It's coming. I'm looking at, this is, and an unidentified lady answered the door before allowing Katie to come to the door to speak to this investigator. Here we go. Raw, unfiltered fury. And I will get your comments.
My name's Heather. I came by yesterday. Hi, Katie. What can I do for you? Are you the woman that trespassed my property yesterday? I actually didn't. I walked down your neighbor's property and then down the easement and then.
Boom. Nothing about. Did you find Sebastian? In my opinion, they know where he is, and that's speculation because there's no curiosity. If your child's gone and a PI comes to your door, you're going to beg him to tell you he found him or something. Not a word. She jumps right in with trespassing.
And that's the other side. Easement. I own that. That's my property. Well, the fence says no trespassing. I didn't come on the property. That is my property. The easement, that's a public easement. I own it. I own it. I am here to try to clear you. So I need you to clear me. So I don't know why you're being defensive with me.
Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
First, can you identify yourself?
I did already. My name's Heather, private investigator.
Well, you're coming to my house.
I am. I'm investigating the disappearance of your stepson. So do you want him found or no? Because if you do, then why would you have a problem with me coming to talk to you guys? Well,
real simple, because we're asking you questions and you're telling us that you can't answer those questions. So why should we answer any?
I absolutely did not trespass. There's no such thing. There's nothing. There is a such thing as a public easement. It's not posted. I own it. I have signs on. Okay, your fence has a sign. I didn't frequent inside of. Okay, take it up with. If you want to report it to law enforcement, do it. Take it up with them. I am trying to help. Okay, so if you want somebody to help you, that's what I'm doing. So calm down. Talk to me like civil human beings. I'm trying to help find him. I've been talking to sex offenders in the area. Law enforcement has done that. Okay, and I'm going to do it too because I'm working it too. And I have that right, and the person that hired me has that right. Anybody has that right. He's also blatantly accusing me of murder when I didn't. I haven't accused you of shit. I didn't say you did. I said he did. Okay, well, I'm trying to decide who is on my radar and who is not. I talked to sex offenders. That is my focus right now. You're in my mind. You're not a person of interest, but I'm coming here trying to talk to you. It's not a good look to trespass. That's my point.
What it look like, ma'am?
It's posted all
I just came from the TBI headquarters in Jackson, Mississippi.
Honey, I'm going to tell you, as a PI, I have a lot more leeway with things I can do and people I can talk to. And this isn't my first rodeo. I've worked cases like this before. I have gotten information that TBI or law enforcement's not able to get, and I have passed it along, and it has helped the case. I mean, that's all I can tell you.
What have you passed along that's helped us today?
I just started working this case. I haven't even got a chance to talk to you or Katie yet.
Well, here's the thing. You're not talking to her by herself, period.
Okay.
You're not going to talk to my
wife. Fine. Set up an appointment. All right, set up an appointment.
Why can't anyone talk to, excuse me, why can't anyone talk to KP without him there? He wasn't there when the event happened. Why does he have to be there for the conversations? And again, who is Littlefoot trying to protect? Because I don't think it's KP. I think other people are involved, or he would have dumped her on her tush. Who's he protecting? Himself? I don't know. His family members? I don't know. Why are they more concerned about their ownership of a sidewalk than the life of your child?
With me, do you want to do that? I can come back. I mean, I can respect your time. I'm not trying to be this. Whatever. I mean, I really think everybody just needs to calm down. Emotions are high. People are flinging mud, and it's just getting drama and stupid. And that is a terrible disadvantage to Sebastian.
Right, but let me.
Amen. I'm just going to cut in here real quick. Did you hear Dirtyfoot say, when she's trying to say arranging a time with Katie to talk to help find her son, did you hear Dirtyfoot say, you're not talking to her by herself? He is controlling that narrative, in my opinion. I love that she calls him honey and says, do you want him found or not? But she calls to help about Sebastian. Not one inquiry. Have you found something? Are you calling to give us information? None of that curiosity. It's all about the property and an initial, immediate attack.
Let me inform you on something. You're not the one being threatened here.
I think everybody's being threatened. Did you know there was a drive-by shooting?
Last being threatened. Bullshit.
Okay. All right. I mean, I don't understand why you guys are coming at me. I didn't do anything to you.
Okay, well, first off, you came to my house the other day.
Yes. Yesterday.
You walked around my fucking property with a videotape and put pictures.
Privately owned property back
You
there.
didn't fucking post it all sides of that property.
I mean, the easement between houses is not usually.
I own it.
In that fucking subdivision.
I own half, my neighbors own half, period. That's not public. There are no.
I mean, there's no property lines. There's no way to tell what is.
It's marked. I have stakes.
I mean, can you show me? Because I
I can
didn't.
show you all 4 no trespassing signs.
They're on the
you
fence.
You can go on the city and you can look at the property line and you can.
I mean, they're on the
I said,
fence. I wouldn't jump your
own it.
fence.
I own it. Half of that is mine, half of that is theirs. That's why they turned it in and they turned it into the police.
I'm sorry, what? I think that when there's a no trespassing sign on the fence, that means you don't go into the fence. I'm not going to go into the fence.
Actually, that's wrong.
Okay, well, I'm not sure how I would know that. All right, well, I'm not really. Yeah, I'm just not really sure how anybody would know that easement is yours.
Step out of your car the other day, and you walked onto the property. When my neighbor saw you,
Oh,
and my
walk right past your neighbor.
street saw you, wait, turn around. Where they saw you, I got you on camera, walking your ass through my property, right next to my fucking driveway. You walked past 3.
He's got her on camera. He's got her on camera. Wait a minute. You don't have cameras. Oh, you're upgrading cameras. Well, Mr. Littlefoot, do you realize that an upgrade means you have a system and you're making it better? If you didn't have a system, you would be installing it. Know it all, in my opinion. Don't come on my property. They know exactly where their easements are, but don't know where Sebastian is. And look where their emotions go to, not Sebastian. When she said she's there, was talking to RSOs, did they say anything? Did they say, well, what did you find out? I don't care if you're talking to RSOs. No. This stuff, and let's not forget the truck unlashing when his truck was mentioned by Elevated Truth. Oh, sorry, I mentioned the creator. By E.T., he went bananas. I have that audio too. And actually, someone sent that video to the FBI from my channel. They took it from my channel and sent it to the FBI, and they gave it an evidence number. The truck video, where he was screaming about his truck not being there and no one better mention his truck and all of that. So you get an idea of how they approach people who are trying to help. And I want to read something for you guys that I pulled up about, and I don't know, you guys, a lot of you are asking with the way he threatens people, why he's not in jail for threats. I don't know. That's a question for Mr. Craddock. Statistically and behaviorally, people who perpetrate ABUSE often target those they perceive as less capable of physical retaliation or those over whom they hold social or structural authority. That fits. Power and control dynamics is what they use. And they have the ABUSE is frequently rooted in a desire for control. Well, we know we're dealing with a control freak, in my opinion. Women and children are often targeted because perps view them as physically smaller or less likely to fight back effectively compared to an adult men. Little man syndrome. Don't go for the men, just the women. Children and intimate partners are often financially, emotionally, legally dependent on the perpetrator. This makes it much harder for victims to leave or seek help, giving the ABUSER a sense of impunity. Perpetrators choose targets where the risk of immediate physical consequences or retaliation to themselves is minimized, like against a 15-year-old vulnerable child with disabilities. Confronting another adult man carries a higher perceived risk of physical defeat or escalation. And we all know someone with little man syndrome would not go up against a real man. Lois says, in my opinion, he gets so worked up to fight avoiding answering questions. Absolutely. I agree with you. It's such distraction, deflection. He thinks he can cuss away the eyes on him. But right now, the eyes are focused on this case. The eyes are focused because a biological father is not going to stop looking for his son. He filed lawsuits, and those lawsuits are asking to reopen the DCF cases, which will put all eyes on Littlefoot, and the team, the investigative team that dropped it, closed it with no services, right? And it's going to put all eyes on the investigation. What they didn't do, what they did do, what's on that body cam, what they have in evidence, what they did not preserve, who they did not separate and interview, all of the above. I got one better than that, Nicey. Nicey says, just make you think, what is the neighbor behind Proudfoot's house? What was in that side garage? The PI was walking that path and KP jumped on the PI walking that path. Think out loud, in my opinion. Yeah, very interesting. And also, he had a fifth wheel in his backyard that night. Was that ever searched? I'm not accusing, I'm just saying. When someone's got a very sophisticated camera system, and I've seen, by the way, shots from his camera that had nothing to do with this case. In the dark, a kid walking through his yard, and he was upset about it, wanted to know who the kid was. You could see him bright as day because of his night vision and everything. So you tell me why he didn't submit any cameras. But there was a fifth wheel in that side yard. And when they got out, the sedan, 3 a.m., this is what the person at the command center told my inside source, a 3 a.m. sedan entered your neighborhood a couple minutes before 3 a.m. They drove up Kellen Lane, turned around, and as they were coming back, the two people with flashlights got out of the car, possibly three, my source said. And my source indicated to me that they either got out before or after CC's house with that sophisticated camera. But if you recall, I've showed you all security surveillance footage before from at night that shows right behind CC's shed that night at 3 a.m. are two people standing with a flashlight, and KP's bedroom light is on. Let me write that down and I'll bring that back out too. I'm writing that down so I can bring that out to you next time. So she says she's asleep, and we see her bedroom light on, and we see people standing behind CC's shed with two flashlights. In my opinion, what was the hurry back to the RV? We've talked about that. That makes no sense. You must have had something very important in there who drove it off. I agree. And another thing, SI officer, is when he went to get that fifth wheel, which you could have just called and said, I've been staying there for months and I have a missing child. Here's my credit card. I'll be back in a couple of days, but I just wanted to give you payment, or whatever the case is. but he goes back. But remember, when he goes back for that fifth wheel, no one in this case has ever seen the fifth wheel he took in the first place. Remember that. He leaves his allegedly grieving wife for over 24 hours because he says it takes a long time to, do that. And he had to take 2 people away from the grieving wife to go with him. Now, who usually is with him all the time to help him clean up his junk, in my opinion, so you can figure out who it was there. I had someone tell me who was in the vehicle, but I have not verified it secondly, so I don't want to say. Okay, so why? We don't know whatever he went to go do with his fifth wheel. We don't know if it was taken back to his parents, allegedly. Mommy and daddy's fifth wheel was taken back to the house on Stafford and put in the driveway. But I have showed you in that video I had that I found on Facebook Marketplace that Rosenbaum's relatives of KP's had that RV listed on Facebook Marketplace in April. I think they made $35,000 off of it. Yep. But yet they sent me an email saying, we have nothing to do with this. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Like, I'm going to believe that, in my opinion. So we have a lot going on. And you know what, my friends? There's a lot more to come because everyone's zoomed in now. This lawsuit, kudos to Seth Rogers. It's zoomed in now. Now it's getting what it should have had been getting all along. Questions about the silence, questions about the investigation, questions about DCF. All of it are going to come to light. And I think there's a little man who's not going to feel like dressing up like sheriff and making jokes, in my opinion, for quite a while. Because if you just go by his mouth, the way he's acted, the things he said, the inconsistencies, there's not a chance that he's not going to be looked at, in my opinion. He had allegedly, there were, if we've all heard, there were allegedly a camera in the kitchen. Remember, so he could make sure, allegedly, that Sebastian didn't sneak snacks. By the way, one thing I did hear from a source, and I obviously I can't verify this, is that he refused to pay for Sebastian's snacks. And he didn't allow Sebastian, allegedly, to eat his snacks. KP had to buy Sebastian snacks with her own money because the stepfather, Mr. Chris, who alleges he loves Sebastian like his own, wouldn't buy his own snacks. Wouldn't buy snacks for Sebastian, allegedly. And if you love a child like your own, would he really call you Mr. Chris? By the way, that was mentioned in the DCF's thing too. They put Mr. Chris in quotes, that he was afraid of Mr. Chris, and he only felt safe at his dad's. KP had, okay, so you heard that too. Good, Wicked. I'm glad. Okay. Wicked says, was that RV ever checked? Well, I don't know for sure, Wicked, but looking at the rest of the investigation, my guess would be no. Now, if you recall, one day he was on a live or something and got a call and said he was with Brandon up in Memphis. Brandon's the lead detective. You don't know him because he's never come out and spoken on behalf of Sebastian. But see, he was in Memphis with CP, and oh yeah, me and Brandon are out here. Yes, because you know, teenage boys and their snacks. Yep. And now his allies, who he thought he had, and he thought he finally had friends, in my opinion. Thought he had friends. And suddenly, people, his alliances are calling him out. How must that feel? You scared? You hiding? You peeking through those curtains at night? You looking over your shoulder? You listening for sirens? Is that what's happening? A little nervous? Because karma's going to come bite you in the ass for what you possibly did to a vulnerable child? Well, what CPS says you did, let alone forget the disappearance. Don't forget, look through those shades, peek through those blinders, because they're coming, buddy. They're coming. Karma's coming. Mr. Chris, Dirtyfoot, Littlefoot, did you know there's an investigation? That's a lawsuit asking an investigation to be reopened at DCF? Uh-oh, Mr. Chris. Wouldn't that mean open it and look at you, in my opinion? Look through those blinds at night. Keep your ears open. Mr. Chris, did you know there's also a lawsuit against DCF asking to reopen that case? I just said that, didn't I? Well, that means it reopens an investigation into you, my friend, in my opinion. Did you know? Uh-oh. There's an investigation into Sumner County Sheriff's Office's investigation of the disappearance of Sebastian? The very people you continue to say know everything? Uh-oh, Mr. Chris. I bet you don't feel like dressing up now, Littlefoot. Do you? Tick-tock. Keep looking through those curtains. Keep looking over your shoulder, in my opinion. It's got to be quite unnerving. Because karma comes, doesn't it? And what happens in the dark at 3 a.m. comes to light. Tick-tock, Dirtyfoot. Tick-tock, Dirtyfoot. Dressing up for his swingers nights. Wonder if Mr. Chris pretended... Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Wonder if Mr. Chris pretended to be Seth, or at least the biological father. I have connected with a CPS worker who is now a child psychologist and is willing to answer questions regarding this case. She has no knowledge of this case, but I told her there's things going on regarding DSF and this missing child. She's willing to answer questions for us. Here's the irony of it. We were going to do that this weekend, but she just went on maternity leave herself. So, but I asked her if she wanted to postpone till she's off of maternity leave, or if I could send questions and she could respond with her answers and I'd read them. So I'm waiting to hear back what is best for her. But some of the stuff I was telling her originally, she was very confused about. So I do have a former DCF worker who is now a child psychologist. And if you have any questions that you want me to bring to her, I have a list myself. Email me at crimetimebuzz@gmail.com, and please, in the subject, put DSF question, because I am waiting for her to, hi, Justice Fernog, I am waiting for her to respond to me. I don't want to bother her. She just had her child, but I am waiting for her to respond to me of how she's willing to do this now that she's home with her baby. So Becky says she was told if a male person can be walking through that area, it's not trespassing. Interesting. Male, M-A-I-L. Very interesting, Becky. We should look up the easement laws in Tennessee if one of you wants to do that and send it to me. So I do have that. I do have a worker who will answer questions for us, because I as well wondered if someone allegedly claimed to be Seth, so Seth wouldn't be contacted. Just a theory, right? And another thing, if you have been following the Lindsay Clancy trial, I have an interview, hour and 15 minutes, with a maternity nurse. I connected with her. We started talking about the postpartum psychosis in Lindsay Clancy case. And I started telling her about the Lindsay Clancy case. And after several conversations, she shared with me that she herself had gone through postpartum psychosis. She herself. And so I asked her if she would be willing to talk to my audience, my channel members, my channel, and talk to them about her experience as the person who went through it, and also her experience as a medical maternity nurse looking at it through those eyes. And it's an incredible interview. And it's coming. I'm not sure if it's getting kind of late, so I'm not sure if I want to put it out tonight. It might come out tonight, but it will be out tomorrow. And it is heart-wrenching. And when you listen to it stay to the end, because she talks about her life now, looking back to the postpartum psychosis, and it's just heartbreaking, because we all know postpartum doesn't, it goes away, but sometimes the ramifications follow them all for a lifetime. And it did for this lady. And I thank her for being so kind. She didn't want to go on camera because she shared such a support, or such a personal story. And she's a maternity nurse, retired. So I didn't put her on camera. I have her audio though. And I really do appreciate that she did that for us, because it really shows, you know, what people go through. And it's heartbreaking. So look for that as well. And I will keep you all posted on the DCF worker. She's not from Tennessee, but has experience in CPS, DCF, whatever you call it, in Texas, and is a child psychologist. So she can answer a lot of questions for us. So if you have a question you want me to bring to her when she's ready, because she's on leave right now, please put in the subject line when you send it to crimetimebuzz@gmail.com, DSF question. And then I will compile them for her, and however she's comfortable. I don't know how long her leave is or anything like that. So it's everything he said in the last 2.5 almost years. Let me bring it up again. It is 910 days, 130 weeks, 2 years, 5 months, and 29 days since he was reported missing. Everything that has been stated from that individual, in my opinion, is very important. And we have it all, don't we? So regardless of where this lawsuit goes, in my opinion, it's going to pop some things open. Okay? Because if they decide they're going to go with his request, to the biological father's request to reopen the investigation to DCF, I'm just going to tell you this: heads are going to roll, in my opinion. Wait till you see. I have looked at it. I have worked through it. I put down these questions, and I was trying to dissect it, and the same answers keep coming back to me. And that will be tomorrow. I'm going to go through the investigation team from DCF, Sumner County, DA Whitley's office, and the Child Advocacy Center. And then also tomorrow at some point, I will put out the Lindsay Clancy audio, not Lindsay Clancy, but the postpartum psychosis survivor. And I say survivor because, y'all, it's terrible. It's a silent disease, and it's just terrible. And one thing she said that just will never leave me when she was, and that's why I want you all to be there and stay to the end for it, because it's an hour and 15 minutes. One thing she said, and bless her heart, started crying at the end, and she said, I never wanted this to be my story. And it broke my heart. It really did. So we have a lot coming up. I want to thank you for sticking with me through my busy summer. I had a nephew recently who had a stroke. He's 38 years old. Heartbreaking. And you know what, you all? Last Sunday, not yesterday, the Sunday before, we had 2 babies born in the family on the same day. So we've had a lot going on. Thank you all. I'm so glad that you enjoyed the live. We're here for Sebastian. Yes, if his lips are moving, he's lying, in my opinion. You got it, Frank. We're here for Sebastian. We are Sebastian's army. Two Dozen Roses says, SI officer, they all sure as that has been obstruction and hindering, tampering in an active missing child case. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, SI officer. Great live, Jay. Great work. Thank you. Lots to come. Thank you for my busy summer. As you all know, I moved out near family, and I have probably 100 family members here, and they keep me busy. But I'm back, my friends. So thank you so much. Let's stay safe. Please take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. And hit that subscribe. It's free. You don't want to miss the interview coming up by the interview coming up by the survivor of postpartum psychosis. My friend, she lost custody of her kids. She lost her marriage. It was very heartbreaking, a maternity nurse. And then also don't miss what's coming up about the investigative team that investigated Sebastian through DCF and closed it with no services. Boy, is it eye-opening when you break it all down, and that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So hit those notification bells. Renita, hello. Prison is too good for this pack of snakes. Awesome comment, Renita. Thank you so much for that. You all, thank you so much for your donations. I am really working to not have to sub or tutor as much so I can be with you more. So that really does help, and I truly appreciate it. Be safe, stay safe, and we will talk soon. And thank you so much for all of your support. Love you all. Hit that like button on your way out. And hey, Crime Time Grime, good to see you. Love the name. Talk to you all soon. Justice for Sebastian Rogers.